Welcome back, Barbarians. Corlick here, and today I want to be diving into one of the new Lightfall exotics, Deterministic Chaos. Why I believe you need it, and it's just essential as your morning cup of tea. Or coffee, I suppose. If you do like this video, please make sure to like and share it. You know what? Just share it. That'd be great. Alright, let's go ahead and dive into it. So this is a Void heavy machine gun, which when getting it, I was a little bit hesitant, but I absolutely love this thing. I think it performs far better than I anticipated. So just generally looking at the rounds per minute, 360, magazine 48, recoil direction of 80. It's got ricochet rounds, vexadecimal. While holding down the trigger, every fourth heavy metal projectile also makes targets volatile on impact. And just a tracker. It seems pretty straightforward, but in practicality and using it, it feels fantastic because the magazine is so large and it's so good at clearing ads, which we'll dive into here shortly. To my knowledge, I'd like to do some preliminary stuff. There isn't a ornament for it yet, so I can only imagine there will be soon, which is going to be sick. But the weapon already looks gorgeous, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Lol, just died. And then in order to get this quest, there's 13 steps, but you can just pick it up simply from playing the game. Nothing out of the ordinary in terms of how to acquire this machine gun. The quest steps are quite straightforward. Upon any completion, whether it be normal or legendary of the Lightfall campaign, you can start this quest unfinished business, and then from there you will be prompted on where to go, who to speak with. In my opinion, the first step of this quest, not truly the first step, but the first step when you actually need to do something, is kind of, in my opinion, the most difficult, which is finding cloud accretions. But in order to interact with them, it will tell you in the quest you need to kill Vex to acquire Rohan's data. And then once you have these data fragments, if you will, they'll drop from killing any Vex. You can pick them up and collect them. And then as you turn them in for the cloud accretions, it will progress towards your quest being completed for that particular step. You do need to find 5 of these, and in my personal opinion, just roaming Neomuna is absolutely fine. However, if you're trying to get this done very quickly, I would say the best way to find cloud accretions, and yes, they have a higher rate, is any of the new lost sectors on Neomuna. Typically, every time I've run a lost sector, I will find anywhere from 2 to 3 in any given one, making this quest very quick as well. Here in the gameplay you're seeing in the background, I'm actually running through the final mission you need to do in order to acquire this weapon, which I think this final mission is very, very cool. There is a little bit of a spoiler, in this video, which I'll preface before people click on it, so hopefully this doesn't ruin anything. Nothing really in terms of dialogue, but as far as the gameplay, or if you want to figure this stuff out on your own. So let's talk about this machine gun. 360 rounds per minute being a slower firing machine gun. I personally really like. It's got great recoil direction in order to keep your sight on target and continue with that DPS. In this final mission, it's really nice because it allows you to just get heavy infinitely because it wants you to use the heavy machine gun, which is awesome. And then there is potentially a catalyst for this as well. So if you go to light.gg, you can see here that essentially it's 4th times the charm. Rapidly landing precision hits will return 2 rounds to the magazine, which I think is perfect synergy for this heavy machine gun. And me personally, I don't think this is going to be a raid go-to. It's not going to be a boss, automatically equipped for DPS. However, this thing has proven to me to be very versatile when it comes to ad suppression or clearing, and champions. Very good at adding the volatile rounds to targets, especially synergizing with the artifact this season with that perk for volatile rounds, proving to be very useful in PvE. Now this does of course take your exotic slot, so running really whatever you want in your kinetic and secondary, it doesn't necessarily matter. And in playing with this for a couple hours, I noticed I never had an issue with ammo. I don't know if that's... I'm running no heavy ammo finder as far as the new mods are concerned. and I was just playing the game. No matter what activity I was doing, I always had ample heavy. I don't know if that's my RNG, just something I noticed about having this equipped. Now, a side note regarding the artifact and volatile rounds, it does appear that for some reason that artifact perk, and maybe this is intentional, but it wasn't communicated effectively, is only working with heavy weapons. So those void weapon kills creating volatile rounds will only work with the corresponding heavy weapons. So kind of limiting, but to that same point, at least it works with this weapon here. Where I think this heavy machine gun is going to see the most play is in activities with high ad density. So any battlegrounds activity, especially with the Mars ones from season 19 now being in the strike rotation, which I think is really cool. Those have great ad density, and I think this thing is going to flourish in those, as well as the new battlegrounds with Season of Defiance, which, let's not forget, that is a fantastic activity with very high ad density as well. This being a void weapon, I think if you're in particular fire teams or synergizing with some other void abilities, there could be some very strong synergy between the weapons you're currently using and the heavy. For instance, a suppression nade, some folks are talking about Bubble Titans and their ability to suppress frequently. I'm thinking of Voidwalker Warlock and some Devour synergy between this and, healing as well. So creating volatile rounds on a single target and then healing yourself. And if you were thinking about running this in Crucible, I would advise against it, just because heavy machine guns keep you in the line of sight for too long. So in my opinion, these are not viable whatsoever in PvP. However, in PvE, this is going to be kind of a go-to for me for a little while. Something new, something fresh. Yes, Thunderlord is still amazing and still does what it does. However, I think this being new to Lightfall, this thing's going to be a lot of fun to use. I actually think this might see more gameplay next season, only because I'm just guessing that Strand is so popular right now and will be this whole season, that it won't really be until next season that we start to dabble in some of these other pieces, if you will, that we're getting with Lightfall. Yes, volatile rounds is certainly around now and strong. However, I'm just curious to see if this is going to be somebody's main build, whereas I would argue it might be next season. Alright, that's it folks. See you next time.